Hi everyone, welcome to Full Bloom. I'm Zita Christian. Tonight we're going to talk about the connection between Hartford and Hollywood. I have two friends with me tonight, both well experienced in that connection on this side of the connection and on the other side, Peter Fox and Marty Lang. Let me introduce you to them. Here to my right, Peter Fox, a graduate of AFI, American Film Institute, very prestigious school in California. And you are also affiliated with Tripeg Studios here in Hamden,
Yes,
Connecticut.
I'm VP of production down there.
Okay, so you're well entrenched in the whole filmmaking.
Well, we're trying.
Filmmaking business, yes. And then to your right, Marty Lang. Now, Marty, you wear a number of hats. I know some people might recognize your name because you do movie reviews for Channel 3 on the Weekend News, correct? Yep. And the educational director of the Connecticut Film Festival.
Yep, which we just finished up in Danbury.
Yes, and one of the key things I wanted to talk with you about tonight was the fact that you are the assistant director of the Connecticut Film Training Project, and that's something that I think a lot of people are not aware we have. So we're going to get into that. But first, Peter, let me go back to you first for sort of a little bit of a global look. The film industry in general. We hear, a movie comes out and there's always the talk about, oh, it cost X millions of dollars to make, and then you'll hear the news, oh, the highest grossing film for the weekend, it was, fill in the blank, millions. Is that the way it is for all movies, that they cost millions of dollars to make and they all gross millions of dollars, and is that why they're so popular as a business?
Well, I think that when people hear those numbers, they're very easily seduced by hearing those numbers and seeing the figures that some of the A-list stars make. And the answer to the question is no, not all films fall into that category that are distributed. I mean, there's many different types of distribution. There is a wide release, there's a limited release, there is straight to video, obviously, there's made for television. So there's different types of grosses for different, I guess, movie types. I mean, with the independent world, which is very active here in Connecticut, it's obviously much tougher because you're basically at the mercy of the acquisition executives at festivals. And it's a very tough way to go. I mean, independent films are, picked up and they are purchased, but not with great frequency. So it's a very tough road. So it's really a tale of two cities.
Okay.
Where that's concerned.
All right. So let's take it from that global perspective and go to Connecticut. So Marty, let me ask you this whole idea of film in Connecticut. I think a person would have to have, been hiding in a cave for a long time not to realize that there's an enormous growth of the industry in Connecticut. But could you give us an overview of that growth?
Sure. I think you need to break it into two areas. I think you need to look at the major films that have been here in Connecticut, and then you need to look at it from the independent point of view. From the studio perspective, ever since 2006, there's been a real uptick in production, and the big part of that has been because Connecticut passed a film tax incentive as a way to try to lure films to come here. And what the state did originally was they gave 30% of expenditures back to films in a tax credit from $50,000 up. And what that led to back in 2007 was a rush of films that came to Connecticut over the summer. Indiana Jones, the fourth Indiana Jones film, shot for a little while in New Haven. A film called Righteous Kill, shot in Fairfield County, that had Robert De Niro and Al Pacino in it. And the interesting thing was, at one point in the summer of 2007, there were more films shooting in Connecticut than there were in California.
Really?
Honest to God, between studio films and independent projects, there was more going on here than there was on the West Coast. So for a little bit, this was the place to be. It has tailed off a little bit since then, but one of the cool things is that the independent films have sort of kind of picked up the slack as a result of it, and there have been a number of really good films that were made in Connecticut during that time. One of them is actually a film that I was an associate producer for called The Other Side of the Tracks. That was shot by a filmmaker named A.D. Calvo in Wallingford, and it had Howard and Karen Baldwin. Howard used to own the Hartford Whalers, were executive producers of this film. Made for under $1 million, and we shot all within Wallingford over 3 weeks. And I'm thrilled to say that that film actually just got picked up to air on Showtime before the end of the year this year.
Wonderful. Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, it's great news, and that's just one example of the films that have been here. I've worked on a number of films, independents that have shot here in the last couple of years, and it really is a healthy industry.
Well, I think for the sake of people who watch Full Bloom and might not know even the basics about the film industry, give me a definition of an independent film and a studio film.
Well, basically an independent film is a film that's made with financing outside of one of the major studios. That's the basic definition of it. You know, so if you look at a film that was made by Warner Brothers, that's a studio project. If you're looking at a film that was made with money given by a bunch of doctors and dentists who are interested in being part of a film, that's an independent film. That's sort
of. It could be that, couldn't it?
Oh, it absolutely could.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep, friends of mine have made films that way. You know, so that's the stark definition. You know, to separate the two. But there's a lot of variation in independent filmmaking. The money can come from a variety of sources, a variety of countries. You know, there's a lot of different ways to put it together.
Okay, but it's just not a film that's made with money from a studio.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So what are you doing then to take advantage of this growth of this industry in Connecticut?
Well, I work primarily in film education now in Connecticut, so the jobs that I've done recently have sort of focused on that. I work with the Connecticut Film Festival. I was their educational director this past year, and part of what I did there was to put together workshops and panel discussions, one of which Peter was nice enough to come and attend. To work with us. Yep, and you know, to kind of get people to come out and learn the basics of what filmmaking is like, you know, what making a project for the internet is like, those types of things. I also work with the Connecticut Film Industry Training Program that you had mentioned before, and that's a state-sponsored workforce development program that trains state residents to work as crew members on films and TV shows. So you could go, it's a really fascinating program.
So that Connecticut will have a trained workforce.
Exactly.
As this industry grows.
That's the goal.
I want some details about that. So can anyone sign up? Do you have to have a degree in something before you sign?
Anybody can sign up. You just need to have a high school diploma, and you need to be a Connecticut resident. Our program is actually going to be starting on June 7th, so it's coming up very quickly. So we already have our class selected for this year. We've got about 100 people that are going to be in it, and they're going to be training to work as camera assistants, as sound people, as assistant directors, as script supervisors, lighting people, location scouts, all these different positions that you need to fill on the crew of a show.
So June 2nd, this group starts. And how long does this training last?
It starts on June 7th.
Oh, 7th,
yep.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and it's going to be at Quinnipiac University in Hamden, and it'll go for 4 weeks. And what we do is each week sort of has a different focus. The first week of the 4 is sort of an overview of all 10 of the programs that the training program trains for. So anyone who's in the program gets sort of a high-level overview of what all these people do. So you're not working in a vacuum. You sort of get what everybody's job is. The second and third weeks, you get into specialized training in your particular area. And what you're also doing is you're prepping to actually shoot a short film. And the 4th week of the program is actually shooting a movie.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
Well, during this time, is this daytime classes? Is it nighttime? Is it full-time?
It's a full-time 4-week program. It's 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., 5 days a week.
My goodness.
Yep.
And what does it cost to sign up for something like this?
$500 gets you through for 4 weeks.
For the whole 4 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yes. That's quite a deal. It is.
Well, what then, I hate to be throwing the water on this, but let me ask, what are the expectations in general of the people who take the class, and are they ever disappointed?
Well, it's sort of a 2-phase set of expectations, I guess. The first phase is when you come out of the program, you're trained to the point where you'll be able to work on smaller productions as crew members. That's, the non-union films that are currently shooting in Connecticut. You're qualified to work on those films, and you're also qualified to work as a production assistant, which is sort of an entry-level position on bigger films. Down the line, what we want this program to be is sort of a first step towards increasing the union membership in the state of Connecticut,